industry. He said the companies were Aitio Group, Dubry Oil Limited, Atlas Energy, Frontier Oil Ltd, Oriental Energy Limited, Express Petroleum, Walter Smith Oil Limited, and Nikon Group. Agam said the committee would have no choice than to wield the big sticks on the companies that refused to meet the deadline as part of its mandate to ensure sanity in the nation's oil and gas industry. Meanwhile, members of the committee said the Department of Petroleum Resources was not proactive enough to ensure that indigenous oil companies complied with the rules in the nation's oil and gas sector. Meanwhile, ahead of the 2019 general elections, 21 new political parties have been registered by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), bringing the number to 67. The approval, according to a statement signed by INEC National Commissioner and Member Information and Voter Education Committee, May Agbumeche Mbu, was given at the Commission's weekly meeting in Abuja. She said that the associations were registered as political parties because they had fulfilled their constitutional requirements for registration. The new political parties are All Blending Party, All Grassroots Alliance, Alliance for New Nigeria, Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party, Coalition for Change, and Freedom and Justice Party. Also registered are Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria, Justice Must Prevail Party, Legacy Party of Nigeria, Mass Action Joint Alliance, Modern Democratic Party, National Interest Party, National Rescue Mission, and New Progressive Mission. New Progressive Movement, Nigeria Democratic Congress Party, People's Alliance for National Development and Liberty, People's Trust, and Providence People's Congress were also registered. Also on the list are Rebuild Nigeria Party, Restoration Party of Nigeria, and Sustainable National Party. Now, we're still on electoral umpire. The Independent National Electoral Commission says it has approved the immediate sacking of 2 of its officials and the compulsory retirement of another electoral official for the alleged role in the double registration of the Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello. The electoral body, however, stated that it could not take any action against Bello because he is still enjoying immunity by virtue of Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution. The INEC National Commissioner and a Member Information and Voter Education Committee, May Agbumeche Mbu, following reports of the alleged double registration by the Governor of Kogi State in the ongoing continuous voter registration. The Commission set up a panel of investigation into the involvement of members of staff in the matter. Now, in another development, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, warned Judge of the Court of Appeal against giving decisions which conflict with legal precedents. Justice Onogen stated this at the opening of a 2-day conference of the Justices of the Court of Appeal in Abuja. He said the judges must stick to the principle of stare decisis, which is based on similar matters. The CJN quoted the assertion of a Supreme Court judge, Justice Amina Ogi, that there is a definite need for the reorientation of attitudes of judges with regard to their obligations to stare decisis, thereby creating a legal environment built on certainty of the law. President Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Balakachua, commended justices of the 16 divisions of the Appellate Court for dispensing with 3,001 judgments and 6,963 motions. She announced plans to introduce ICT in the Court of Appeal next year, beginning with the Abuja division and subsequently other divisions. Now, onto the Libyan humanitarian crisis. No fewer than 249 Nigerians have again been repatriated from troubled Libya. Their return was facilitated by the International Organization for Migration, IOM, and the European Union. The returnees arrived at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, at about 9:47 p.m. aboard an Africa Airbus A330-300 with registration number 5AONR. They were received by the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, Alhaji Mustafa Mahaja, who was represented by the Southwest Zonal Coordinator of NEMA, Alhaji Suleiman Yakubu, implored the returnees to be champions of positive change by supporting the campaign against irregular migration. He said they should be able to enlighten other Nigerian youths on the dangers of seeking greener pastures outside the country through illegal means based on their experiences in Libya. In education, the Federal Ministry of Education has set aside 5 billion naira for the provision of security infrastructure in the country's 104 federal government colleges in 2018. According to the breakdown in the proposed 2018 executive budget obtained, the fund will be used for the installation of closed-circuit television cameras and the construction of perimeter fencing around the schools. Other items to be procured with the fund are solar-powered street lights and solar-powered motorized boreholes. The federal government also planned to send 19 million naira on the establishment of language clinics in all the schools, which it said would be a part of the national language policy. Other expenses include capacity building for librarians in all the schools, which will gulp 6,652 million naira, as well as the physical assessment of their libraries, which will cost the Ministry of Education 6 million naira. Now, the ministry will also expend 10 million naira on the deployment of counselors to tackle antisocial behavior, such as drug-related issues, child labor, and violence against children in the 6 geopolitical zones in 2018. Now, in the fight against corruption, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission denied issuing a bench warrant for the arrest of the ex-chairman of the Presidential Pension Reform Task Force, Abdul Rashid Maina. The EFCC stated this in a counter-affidavit deposed by one of its litigation officers, Yusuf Musa, at the Federal High Court, Kaduna. The commission, in the counter-affidavit, described as false a claim by Maina that the anti-graft agency had issued a warrant for his arrest. Maina, in a written address in support of a summons he filed at the court, was seeking a perpetual injunction restraining the EFCC from arresting him. Besides the EFCC, other defendants in the suit filed by the former pension boss at the Federal High Court are the Attorney General of the Federation, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The EFCC, in its counter-affidavit, said Maina's claim was untrue, adding that it did not issue a bench warrant against or for his arrest. We're still on corruption. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has shifted its focus to currency traffickers and money launderers, especially at the airports. EFCC Chairman Ibrahim Magu, who stated this, also warned staff of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, and other aviation workers against abetting financial crimes. Magu spoke at the anti-corruption sensitization program organized for the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria and aviation sector workers. Magu urged aviation workers to buy into the anti-corruption agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari. You're still watching NCTV News at the hour of 8, and still to come, NNPC may ban petrol with high sulfur content. Zimbabwe's Mnangagwa seeks end to Western sanctions. NFF aware of Sheu's suspension, and Osinbajo, Gowon, Shonekan, Adeboye all attend Carol and Villa. And Zimbabwe's Mnangagwa seeks to end Western sanctions. We'll have the details after the break. We'll be right back. Glad you're still with us. We're going to move right into business news now. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, may ban imported fuel with high sulfur content by the 31st of December this year. General Manager Group Public Affairs, Undu Ugamadu, has said NNPC had planned to ban petrol with high concentration of high sulfur content between the 1st of July last year and last July 1st, but was unable to do so due to some regulatory bottlenecks. He said the process of making Nigerians use fuel, which contains lower level of sulfur is ongoing, adding that NNPC has decided to carry along quality control institutions like the Standards of Organization of Nigeria on the issue to do a good job. He said switching from fuel with higher sulfur content to lower one was global and that many countries in Europe and on other continents have done so. Ogamadu said NNPC is charged with maintaining standards in the industry, especially in fuel consumption. Now, moving into sports news, Nigeria Football Federation General Secretary Dr. Mohammed Sanusi has made comments on FIFA sanctioning Nigeria for lining up an ineligible player against Algeria on the final day of qualifying matches for the 2018 World Cup. Sanusi has admitted that he was aware that anorthosis Famagusta right back Abdullahi Shehu was ineligible for the game in Constantine and passed on the information to the relevant department, but it was not acted upon by the officer in charge. Nigeria were punished by FIFA for fielding Abdullahi Shehu, who was suspended, but this does not change anything, as the Super Eagles had already qualified for the World Cup before the inconsequential match. The Algerians were awarded a 3-0 win, and Nigeria docked 1 point for their negligence. Now, the number of gold-labeled athletes eager to compete at the 2018 Access Bank Lagos City Marathon, slated for the 10th of February, keeps growing by the day. The latest runners to join the ranks include a past winner of the Dubai Marathon, Kenya's David Barnasai Tumo, and his compatriot Leve Metebo Omari, who has a personal best of 2:07:18 hours. It's not just the bookmakers that didn't give Barnasai a chance to win the Dubai Marathon. When he did, he didn't give himself just a chance. His aim was a top 10 finish. Eventually, even Barmasai surprised himself with a win. He was leading the field that included established and pre-race favorites like Eliud Kiptanoi and Evans Chariot to win in a time of 2:07:18 hours, almost 1 minute ahead of the field. He received $250,000 for winning the race. Moving on to entertainment news now, Nigerian former leaders joined Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the presidential villa for the 2017 Christmas Praise Concert in Abuja. Among the dignitaries are former head of state Yakubu Gowon and ex-head of the interim national government, Chief Ernest Shonekan. Other dignitaries at the event were serving and former ministers, the head of service, Mrs. Winifred Oyo-Ita, former and serving members of the National Assembly, led by Reps Speaker Yakubu Dogara. Also in attendance were governors of Plateau and Osun, as well as former governor of Rivers, Dr. Peter Odili, and his wife, Justice Mary Odili. The event, which took place at the State House Conference Center, was organized by the presidency to honor God for the gift of Christ, keeping the country together, as well as for greater opportunities for the country in future. Pastor Enoch Adiboye, the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, handled the administration. He prayed for Nigerians and the leaders of the country and for God to continue to direct their affairs. Now, Nigerian dancehall artist Damini Ogulu, popularly known as Burna Boy, has finally spoken on the cases of assault and robbery leveled against him. Burna Boy, who was declared wanted by the Lagos State Police for an alleged involvement in the robbery of his colleague Abiye Jumbo, also known as Mr. 2K, reacted to the allegation on Twitter. According to the Soke crooner, he is ready to reveal the truth about the incidents. He said, "I've tried to remain silent because, as you all know, plenty talk, no day full basket. But today, we go use bucket to pack lies and politics have surrounded my name these past few weeks. But today, you will hear the truth, and I will start from the truth behind the show postponement." His team had earlier stated that his concert scheduled to hold on Sunday the 17th of December has been postponed due to recent allegations leveled against him. Mr. 2K was attacked by a gang on the 22nd of October 2017 in his room at Eco Hotel and Suites on Victoria Island after a show organized by Buckworth Media Network Limited. The State Acting Commissioner of Police, Edgar Imohimi, thereafter invited Burna Boy for questioning about the robbery. Moving into the foreign scene, Zimbabwe's new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, is seeking the removal of sanctions imposed by Western countries, saying they are crippling national development. He also indicated that elections due next July could be brought forward. Speaking to governing ZANU-PF party leaders, Mnangagwa said the government would do everything to make sure they were credible, free and fair. Mnangagwa became president last month after Robert Mugabe was ousted. He's expected to be endorsed on Friday as party leader and presidential candidate for ZANU-PF at the elections. The 93-year-old Mugabe has not been seen in public since he was forced out of office by the military after 37 years in power. However, former spokesman George Chiramba said he had flown to Singapore for a routine medical checkup. Russia's president has accused opponents of his U.S. counterpart, Donald Trump, of harming the United States by inventing stories about contacts with Russia. At his annual news conference, Vladimir Putin said contacts between the Trump team and Russian officials before last year's election were normal. He said the U.S. opposition were not treating those who elected Trump with respect. The Trump campaign is being investigated for collusion with Russia. U.S. intelligence agencies have concluded that Moscow tried to sway the presidential election in favor of Trump, but Putin denies the allegations. He added that Trump was responsible for some quite serious achievements, but had not been in a position to improve relations with Russia. He expressed hope that this would happen, adding that globally there are many things they can do more effectively. We're going to take a short break before we round up our news with a recap of our top stories. We'll be right back. To round up NCTV News, we're going to recap our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to Abuja after participating at the One Planet Summit in Paris, France. No fewer than 249 Nigerians have again been repatriated from troubled Libya. In business news, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation may ban imported fuel with high sulfur content by the 31st of December this year. In sports news, Nigeria Football Federation General Secretary Dr. Mohammed Sanusi has made comments on FIFA sanctioning Nigeria for lining up an ineligible player against Algeria on the final day of qualifying matches for the 2018 World Cup. And in entertainment, Nigerian former leaders joined Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the presidential villa for the 2017 Christmas Praise concert in Abuja. And in the foreign scene, Zimbabwe's new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, is seeking the removal of sanctions imposed by Western countries, saying they are crippling the national development. That's it for this morning's news. Thank you for joining us once again. I am Folake Adesugba, wishing you a great morning.